We'll just wait one more moment. Megan, how many people do we have currently?
Right now, looks like we're at about 50 people.
Perfect. All right. Well, then let's begin. I want to welcome everybody. Welcome to the Co-op Marketing Program webinar, and thanks for joining us today. So we will be recording the webinar and we'll be sharing it with you afterwards. We're also grateful to have American Sign Language or ASL interpreter Carly Sandbo joining us today. Closed captioning will also be available for those who wish to activate it in Zoom. So I'd like to start by introducing the co-op team. My name is Robin Hansen. I'm joining you from the Destination BC office in downtown Vancouver on the territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh peoples, where I'm grateful to have been born and raised. So I'm the manager of the co-op marketing programs, and I've been on the team for just under 1 year. I split my time between Vancouver, where I work, and the Sunshine Coast, where I call home. And joining us from her home in the Okanagan is Karen Holmes, our senior program advisor. So Karen's played a major role on the co-op team since its very beginning 7 years ago, and her career at Destination BC goes much further than that. As senior program advisor, Karen is the co-op program expert, and she leads the day-to-day operations of the program. So Karen's going to be co-hosting the webinar with me today. Next, I'd like to introduce you to Edwin Wu, our special project support. He joins us here in Vancouver, where he lives and works. Edwin supports both of our co-op and MRDT programs here at Destination BC. He's been with us for 3 years. And the newest to the team is Megan McDonald. She's our co-op coordinator, and she joined us 10 months ago after 3 years on Destination BC's visitor services team. So Megan works with us in Vancouver and calls Langley home. So collectively, we're your co-op team, and you can reach us anytime by emailing coop@destinationbc.ca. So the purpose of today's webinar is to provide you with a high-level overview of the Open Pool Co-op program, and then to prepare you for the upcoming application process. Whether you're new to the program or you're a returning partner, you're wanting to refresh your knowledge and learn what's new. So we've been in a modified co-op program for the past few years due to the pandemic, which meant we temporarily changed some of our application process. And this fall, we returned to the full intake with the matched funding requirement, and that may be new to some of you. So this webinar is going to clarify what that means. And then at the end of this hour, you're going to know what the Open Pool Co-op program is, how to reference the program guidelines, how you can apply, who is eligible to apply, what markets and tactics are eligible within the framework of the program. You'll also learn how we evaluate applications, and we'll have a quick review of the co-op timeline. And all throughout the webinar, we'll highlight what's new this year. And for the most part, you'll find that the program remains the same as before, but we will be outlining what's new for those who are returning to the program. Now, I recognize it's a lot of information here. You'll likely have questions. We do have planned a question and answer period at the end. So if you do have questions, please type them into the Q&A section at the bottom of Zoom. And then at the end, we'll read out the questions and we'll try our best to answer as many as we can. And of course, you're always welcome to email any questions after at coop@destinationbc.ca. So what is the co-op program? The official name of the co-op program is the Cooperative Marketing Partnerships Program, and we'll often just call it the co-op program or co-op for short. It means the same thing. Co-op is not a grant. It's an annual competitive merit-based consumer marketing program that funds and enables partnerships and deep collaboration across the province. Destination BC has 2 funding pools for co-op. So there's the open pool and reserved pool. And today we will only be talking about open pool, which are the funds available to all eligible applicant groups on a competitive basis. So the reserved pool are funds specifically earmarked for strategic marketing priorities and are only available to specific recipients. But Destination BC's and the co-op budgets, I should mention, have yet to be determined. They won't be ready until early next year. As of right now, we're not anticipating any substantial shifts to the overall co-op budget this year. But as we know more, we'll be sure to keep our co-op partners up to date. But to give you an idea, the open pool co-op budget for this year has been $4.2 million. So applicants to the open pool co-op program must apply every year in the fall. They must have funds to match, and they must demonstrate in the application that their co-op marketing initiative aligns with the program goals. So the goals are drive consumer demand and increase tourism revenues by investing resources where and when capacity exists, leverage private and public funds to maximize the marketing impact, and create deep collaboration to enhance our global competitiveness and support necessary capabilities such as a strong provincial tourism brand, share data and content, and industry digital readiness. So ultimately, the alignment to these goals is really about the smart spend of money, but really the true deep collaboration of partners, while also creating a tourism industry ecosystem that avoids duplication of effort to maximize efficiencies. Ultimately, the co-op program exists because we, the tourism industry, we're stronger when we work together. We currently have more than 80 partnerships in the co-op program who have aligned around these goals and are producing incredible consumer marketing initiatives. And what you see here on the screen is just a small sampling of our current partners in the program, our current co-op marketing initiatives. But from here on, I'm going to hand it over to Karen to discuss how we got here.
Thanks, Robin. Hello, everyone. My name is Karen Holmes. My pronouns are she, her, and I have the privilege of presenting to you today from the traditional territory of the Syilx Nation, the Okanagan Nation in Vernon, BC. I'm honored and grateful to live, work, and raise my family on these lands. So let's have a quick look back at the co-op program. The Cooperative Marketing Partnerships Program, its very formal name, we know, was developed in 2015 with extensive industry outreach and recommendations by an industry advisory committee. Many stakeholders and participants took part in over 20 community consultation sessions that were held across the province. Those of you attending today's webinar that were part of those sessions and helped shape this program into what it is today, we thank you. Now, that first intake of the program was in the fall of 2015 for the 2016-17 year, with about 52 applications. Over the years, the program has grown, and as Robin mentioned, we currently have over 80 projects in the program. Now, over to the next slide. Now, over the last 2.5 years, we've made several adjustments to the program to support the tourism industry and to help visitors explore BC safely. As we now head into our 8th intake, we are returning to the full program, but more on that in a bit. Now, on this slide here, I wanted to point out that the new program guidelines, now that cover you see on the right, these are the guidelines you'll want to reference as you work on your application. Now you might be asking, where do I find these program guidelines? Right here on the Destination BC corporate website, destinationbc.ca. You'll find the new guidelines by going to what we do, then co-op marketing, and then scrolling down till you see the boxes circled here. Now in those boxes, you'll find links to the new guidelines, the application form, and the list of frequently asked questions. And thanks, Megan, for putting the link in the chat. All right, so let's get to it. The next intake, what's it all about? You can see here, everyone, both new applicants and returning applicants must submit an application. Here's something you definitely need to take note of. The application deadline is Wednesday, November 30th at 4:30. Now, matching funding. So matching funding is required. It's a main pillar of this program, the cooperative part. Now that's the cost sharing aspect. Applications can request that DBC pay for up to 50% of the eligible project costs. This means that the applicants, along with their funding partners or other revenue sources, are paying for the other portion. If coming up with matching funding is going to pose a significant concern for your project, please call or email our team and tell us more about your situation. So let's talk a little bit more about money. Funding requests must be for a minimum of $20,000 to a maximum of $250,000 per year. For example, a community consortium submits an application to DBC for $20,000. This means that they are agreeing to bring at least $20,000 for a total project budget of $40,000 or more. On the next slide here, you'll see eligible applicants. Who is eligible? There are two main streams of applicants. Product sectors. These are the organizations representing province-wide experiential market-ready tourism product, pardon me. One example, the Backcountry Lodges of BC Association represents about 32 backcountry lodges and promotes the experiences available to regenerate, reconnect, and recreate responsibly. The other stream, community consortiums. These are clusters of 3 or more communities working together to market and promote their destinations based on a unifying theme. An example of a consortium is the Southern Gulf Islands Tourism Partnership. This consortium includes Salt Spring Island, Pender Island, Galiano Island, Main Island, and Saturna Island. And they also have other partners as well. Now, you'll see it says pre-approval required against paired communities and single community. Prospective applicants need to contact the co-op team to discuss and tell us a little bit more about how there are no opportunities to form or join a community consortium. So, duplication of effort. I'll touch on this a little bit. To reduce the duplication of effort between sectors and consortiums, sectors are meant to focus on promoting the sector experience to a sector audience about the specific sector or product experience. Community consortiums should focus their efforts on the unique selling propositions that link the communities together. Now, where there could be overlap, you can either contact the sector organization directly to learn more, or you can contact the co-op team to discuss further. Now, to markets. There are 3 geographic markets that the co-op program is intended to market to. The short haul markets of BC, Alberta, and Washington State. Now, with demonstrated business rationale, we may approve other US or Canadian markets. So please call us and tell us what you have in mind. Over to you, Robin.
Thanks, Karen. So I want to speak about the eligible activities within the co-op program. If you have the guidelines open, it's section 4.3 or page 8. And it's here in the co-op program guidelines where you're going to find all the details of the eligible activities. These are the marketing tactics that you can spend your co-op funds on. So consider this section a menu that you could use to help build your application, kind of the foundation of your project. So eligible activities are listed out by theme. They include digital readiness, so that's like website improvement, brand aligned photography and video shoots, like the gorgeous photos and videos that Fishing BC recently did with Rick Hansen. It also includes social media. So this could be everything from program execution to community management to even paying for influencer fees. It also includes content marketing initiatives. I know that's a big bucket, but that could include things like the blog posts that you see here on Northeast BC's website. It can also include paid advertising, such as Instagram ads or Facebook ads, and so on. And where appropriate, eligible activities could include print and online collateral, consumer shows, and market research. I really encourage you to carefully read through all the eligible activities section and to get to know it well. We have a lot of details in there. Previous to this webinar, we had a few questions come in about brand alignment, and this could literally take the entire webinar. So we're not going to spend too much time, but in the guidelines, section 5.5, you're going to find an entire section on brand alignment, and you'll notice that there's tiers 1, 2, and 3. And this is really a self-assessment to understand how your initiative aligns with the Supernatural British Columbia brand. If that's something you intend to do or not, it's really meant to help us as Destination BC understand your efforts and how we can help you align to that brand. So don't overthink it too much. You can always reach out to our team. We can also put you in touch with our brand team if you need help assessing which tier you're in. I will read from the guidelines just so that we're all clear. Tier 1 of brand alignment is considered highly aligned. So that's both strategic and creative alignment, where brand aligned values and messaging are aligned. You might be using the logo tile or at least 2 other brand elements. So that could be like DBC's brand colors, or the photography style, or the Great Forest font, which is what you see here on the screen. And if you're not familiar already, the brand team has a wonderful brand guidelines document on the corporate website that you can access from destinationbc.ca. And there's a whole learning center there with an entire brand alignment section. So that's where you'll find the brand guidelines. You'll find the brand guideline video as well, and many other resources to help. I should also mention that within the co-op program, this still remains the same. If you plan to use $30,000 of your co-op funds on content creation, there will be a coaching session with our brand team involved with that. And really, our brand team are here to help you align as best as you wish to. So what's new with the co-op program this year? As I mentioned, most of the eligible activities remain the same as before. Most of the co-op program remains the same, but I would like to quickly highlight a few new activities that have been added that maybe you're not aware of. The first is inclusive marketing. So we have an opportunity and a responsibility to represent the diverse populations of BC accurately and authentically to our audiences. So you might know that Destination BC is in the midst of its own inclusive marketing journey, and we support our co-op partners to take positive steps towards becoming more inclusive marketers so that we're learning and growing together as an industry. So new this year, you will be able to use your co-op funds to work with a certified or recognized DEIA consultant to undertake an inclusive marketing audit on your channels, but also to develop an inclusive marketing strategy or action plan. This is the first time that we're offering this. And it's not just limited to the output of your marketing materials. It's also about the entire process, the entire creative process. And you're going to find important considerations in our program, the co-op program guidelines, to help you build inclusivity into all steps of your creative process. So website accessibility is another new activity you're going to find as a part of our menu of digital readiness tactics. And this will just help improve your website to provide a better experience for everyone. So consider all the tools and technologies that you can use to improve your website's accessibility. For example, does your website offer voice search capabilities? And the screen capture here shows the search function on the Hello BC website, you can see it has press the mic icon to voice search. So that's one capability. Are you using content management systems that support alt tags for your visuals or closed captioning for your videos? Are your forms on your website designed for accessibility? Are you using color in the best way possible? So this is new this year. And another new eligible activity are vertical stories, which have gained in popularity on platforms such as Instagram, Instagram stories, TikTok is another one. You can use your funds to create these vertical stories also for the BC Story Network. So the BC Story Network, it's a networked approach to content marketing for the province. It's powered by Crowdrift's Localhood platform. It's entirely free to use. You don't need to have a Crowdrift account to use it, to sign up for it. Basically what the program does is it allows any partners in the BC Story Network to easily create what we call travel stories. They're mobile first, visually immersive content in the vertical format. They instantaneously publish content to multiple distribution channels. So the screen capture here that you're looking at comes directly from the Hello BC website, but it also shows up organically in Google searches. And if you're wondering, well, like, why should I join? It's entirely free. The content is evergreen. It doesn't disappear. It has its omni-channel approach. So you create one story once and it's shared everywhere. So you can share it to the destination website, Google search, Facebook, Instagram, and so on. You can exponentially increase the reach of this content. Google prioritizes this content as well, and it kind of removes the obstacles for curation. So once it's published, it can automatically filter in to the Hello BC website and other websites as well. So if you are interested, we do have a section in the program guidelines. Section 5.6 goes into more depth on the BC Story Network. We also have an email address there should you wish to join. And if you want to learn more information, globalcontent@destinationbc.ca is who you can contact. Next, I'm going to hand it over to Karen.
All right. The application form and the evaluation criteria. So we get a lot of questions about this, so we thought we would go over this. So before I talk about the changes to the format of the application form, I'd like to highlight the evaluation criteria categories. So you can see on the pie chart there, there's 4 sections, each worth the percentages you can see on the screen. So I'll read those out. 25% for demonstrating increased tourism revenue in BC, 25% for building a brand-aligned content and content Commonwealth approach, 40%, that's the big one, for the strength of the marketing plan, and 10% for demonstrating that you have the resources and capability to execute the project effectively. So on page 33, if you're following along with the guidelines in your hands there, page 33 of the program guidelines, you'll find the specific criteria listed by bullet point. So in your application, we'll ask that you please demonstrate how your project plans to address or accomplish each and every bullet point. On to the application form. You'll notice if you've looked at the application form yet, it is different, a little different from previous years. Now, we changed the format of the application form to help us accomplish several goals. One, to help us with gathering the information we need to provide reporting on the co-op program. Over the years, we found that we've had gaps in our information collection, and it was impeding our ability to compile and share the information, both internally and externally. So for example, we need to understand not only which organizations are partnering on the project, but to also know who the contact person is at each of those organizations. This helps us understand the broader partnerships within the co-op program and across the tourism industry. So we appreciate your assistance in advance with providing the information that we've requested. The next slide here, you'll see we were also aiming to provide further clarity about the information that we were asking for, and to provide more space on the page for your responses. You can see here the prompts and the questions are in italics, and yeah, please feel free to delete those once you've included your response. Next, the tactics. So the table on the left is meant for check marks only, please. Seeing the check marks in this format actually really helps us process the information quickly. So we ask that if you need to add tactics that aren't listed, please don't add any rows, but if you could please use the other category, that's the line second from the bottom, that's still on the left-hand side in that table. Now, below this table, you can insert more space and describe each of your tactics. On the top of the right side, you'll see there's the partnership model section, and the questions are pretty straightforward. Below that, the budget summary table lists all of the tactics, and you can fill in the columns accordingly. One column is for the applicant amounts, one for the DBC amount, and one for the total budget amount. At the bottom, please fill in the blank for the total funding request to Destination BC. And just a small reminder, with the applications, if you could please email the application in a Microsoft Word document, not a PDF. We find that having the application in Word really helps us with processing the document at the contracting stage. Funding distribution. So a few comments on funding distribution. The application evaluation is competitive and merit-based. However, other considerations that we have are ensuring regional distribution across the province, awarding partial funding to applicants, and then also we could possibly limit the number of applications that are receiving over $100,000. Now, a note on partial funding. So in past years, the co-op program has been oversubscribed. Many of you know that, those who have been in the program for many years. We've had many great applications and wanted to maximize the number of projects that we could fund. And one way to do that has been to approve partial funding. Now that is to provide less than the amount requested in the application. Over to you, Robin.
Thanks, Karen. So we're nearing the end of the presentation session. We'll be moving into the Q&A section soon, but I'd like to spend a few minutes reviewing the co-op timeline. As I mentioned earlier, the co-op is an annual program, so it runs on the fiscal calendar year. It often takes an entire year to truly understand how it works. So here's what you can expect through a normal co-op year. So right now, we're in October. Right now, you should be securing your partnerships, your funding, and confirming your co-op activities for the year ahead. And from now until the end of November, you can submit your draft application to our co-op team by email so we can provide feedback. We can confirm if it's been filled out correctly, like Karen has suggested, or if there are gaps or areas that need to be further addressed. If you're uncertain about something, ask us, submit a draft application, and we could provide that guidance. Really take advantage of this because it will benefit you and it will ensure that you submit a stronger application. And then, as we've emphasized, November 30th is the application deadline. You must submit your application by email in the Word document format before 4:30 p.m. PST, or it will not be accepted, and no exceptions for that. And then in December and January, the co-op team will literally go offline. We put up our out of office notice and we read, evaluate, and score the applications. We anticipate there may be more than 80 of them this year. If you don't hear from us during this period, this is completely normal. We're working hard to score and evaluate and make those final decisions. So then in January, this will be January, well, it should be 2023, I see here. Ignore some of the wrong years in there. my apologies for the mix-up in this slide. But in January, funding decisions are made, and it's based on, again, how the applications are evaluated and scored. We do have strict protocol to follow before the funding news is made public, but we will send an official funding announcement to you by email at the end of January. And the funding decisions will also be communicated on the co-op website and also as a DBC press release. So Karen mentioned the co-op program is often oversubscribed, which means that most partners in the co-op program do receive partial funding. So this next bit is important as it will likely apply to you. If you receive partial funding, again, completely normal, but you have until the end of February to revise the budget in your original application. So you will revise it with the confirmed budget, and then you resubmit that to us by the end of February. And as soon as we receive your revised application, only then can we draft a contract to send your way. This often happens in March. This year, we intend to use DocuSign to help streamline the process, but the contracting process is extremely time sensitive. If you've been in the program, you know this, mainly because it coincides with our fiscal year end, and your cooperation is always appreciated at this time. Once we receive the signed contract and an invoice, we can deliver the first co-op payment. And this often happens in April. So then you're off to the races. Your contract will outline the terms, but from that point on, you're free to use your co-op funds on your consumer marketing initiative as detailed in your contract. We're fairly hands-off at this point as a co-op team. We do check in with you once in the summer for a phone call and for the interim report that happens around August. But again, we're typically hands-off from this point on. A final post-project report and an invoice list is required toward the end of the fiscal year in March, and that's where you'll receive your final payment. And all funds must be spent within the dates specified in your contract. And that basically completes the whole year of the co-op program. So before we wrap up, I've got some helpful hints the team's compiled. So if you haven't gathered this, take these away. Number one is print the guidelines document or bookmark it if you prefer, but I find printing it is so helpful. Read them, go through them, continually reference them to build your application. The guidelines are your friend. Apply them where you can, and if you have questions, we're here to help you through them. Oh my goodness, I see what I've done here in this slide. It's all number one, ignore the numbers. Tip number two is review the co-op frequently asked questions, the FAQ. This will provide you some additional knowledge around the program's parameters, might explain the rationale for some of the guidelines. Tip number three is to use the evaluation criteria to your advantage. It's our marking sheet. It's how we score. It's on page 33 of the guidelines. Tip number four is, again, draft applications are welcome now. Submit a half-complete application. We will help you through, not half-complete, but drafts are welcome. We will guide you where you need it. And tip number five, please submit your application before the deadline. That is November 30th, 4:30 p.m. PST. Get it in early. So finally, some additional tips. If you're not already following Destination BC's LinkedIn account or Twitter, please do so. You're going to find additional opportunities shared there for collaboration. We share helpful tips, we share events, we share news releases and more. Also be sure to subscribe to our newsletter. There's the address there. It's also available when you log into destinationbc.ca. That's where we share a lot of our industry updates. We include a whole section on the co-op program. We feature our co-op partners. We provide program updates. This is really where you can go and learn about everything DBC is doing, but also the co-op program. And always, you can always email us at coop@destinationbc.ca if you have any questions, you want to reach the co-op team. If you're feeling a bit overwhelmed with the application process, you have a question that you're, whether it's about brand or how you fill out the application, need some direction or advice, we're really happy to help you. That's why we're here, and we can assist you further. So that concludes our high-level overview of the co-op program. We reviewed what the co-op program is, the upcoming application process. We reviewed some key parts of the program guidelines, highlighting what's new. We reviewed the annual co-op timeline and the new application form. We've hopefully given you a lot of useful tips you can immediately implement. But what we're going to do now is we have a lot of time for question and answers. So because this is a webinar format, you can type in your questions in the Q&A section in Zoom, or you can always email us coop@destinationbc.ca. I will ask Megan to begin reading some of the questions that have come in. Karen and I and Megan, we will answer them as best as we can. So let's begin.
Okay, and so just to confirm, I'm going to stop recording at this point just so we can, if there's any other questions that come in, they will not be recorded from this point.